Hi Lisa, I wanted to follow up on our talk on Wednesday. I'm still stuck in the feeling of grief and pain in the heart, and I can't get in touch with love. Was hoping for advice. Would love to talk if possible. Hello Lisa. Sure, Vishal. Let me just put in my headphones. Hey.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Yeah, I've just still been kind of working through this. Yeah, it's just a tightness in the chest. Yeah, I've been crying a good bit, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess yeah, like, it's just like, maybe it's just like it just feels like this endless well of grief and pain and sometimes anger in the chest, and yeah, and I'm just not getting in touch with. I feel like I don't even know what love is. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what that. I mean, it's probably crossed by a million times. I probably just hadn't even. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I don't know. It just, I can't even imagine what love would be at this point. I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes any sense, but.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I think that this is common,
Hmm.
that people don't know what love is. You most probably do. You've most probably had experiences of love, but your mind has confused it with owning something or having something.
Hmm.
Sometimes also people don't know what love is because they've been cut off from their feelings and they can't feel things. So if you can't feel your feelings, you also won't be able to feel love.
Yeah, I mean that's certain. I think that's been me for quite some time, and only now. Yeah, yeah. I've just been in my head,
Yeah,
like you were saying,
yeah.
for such a long time, and
And
this
I
sort of.
and I wouldn't worry like if it takes weeks for this energy or months even for this energy in your heart to pass. It's coming back to life.
Hmm,
So what you're feeling more than likely is um, your sense of abandonment from life. Like if it's the heart area, it's mostly about this rejection that life has rejected you. But then it will have been projected onto the parents, onto society. So when your mum rejected you, so you'll have picked up her rejection and the rejection of when she rejected you. Like, so this feeling of not being loved by people, of being abandoned. And this is there. These feelings arise. So when somebody treats you like your mother did or like your father did when you were a young child, these feelings will arise, and then unconsciously you'll then start to try to seek for that love again. So when you're in relationship with someone, when you have a romantic relationship, a lot of the time in the relationship you're seeking for comfort from them and you're seeking for home from them. So and it's a feeling, it's this feeling of not relaxing, but it's hard to think about because you've never been taught to think about it, and thinking is a taught thing. It's not a free will in which anybody has because it doesn't belong to anyone. It's a pattern that arises. So when you're with your partner or your lover, it will you'll have your particular patterns that have been established by your mum and dad, and then you will seek to achieve things from them. And it feels like agitation. So if you relax and feel your body when you're with them, you'll see that there is this slight agitation happening in your body, and you'll be able to identify where the agitation is. And then there's this urge to try and get something from them. And when you get what you're looking for, it will relax that discomfort in your heart area. So when you get their attention, or they cook for you, or whatever it is that turns you on, when you get that, or it could be sexuality, whatever it is, that will then relax in your heart, and you'll begin to feel bits of love, because the seeking energy will dissipate. And love will begin to shine through slightly, and then you'll think it's them, and then you'll get into this pattern with them. More than likely, after years though, you'll begin to resent them, because they can never really give you what you're looking for. You can never have this sustained relaxation. So normally in relationships, we're waiting to achieve this moment where we feel like we're home with them. And we have brief moments of it, and normally in the beginning there's more moments of it when you first get each other, and then you both are trying to find home in each other, which will create lots of conflict between each other, or lots of resentment will build up, and there's all these unconscious patterns that will begin to play off that. So a belief that they could really take something away from you. So rather than, so say if they mess up the house and leave it really messy, rather than you just being angry about that, you begin to feel that they took love away from you, and then it has a whole bigger dimension to it. You're not conscious of that again, but you feel more contracted. So when you see the mess, you feel more contracted. And so you feel further removed from love. So you think that what they've done is more serious than what they've done. And you get stuck in arguments with them. Because really what you're trying to do is get to expansion, but you can't get out of it with them. So you get more and more contracted, and you keep on arguing and arguing and arguing. I'm not saying that arguments shouldn't happen. Arguments are healthy and should happen. I know that sounds really weird for a spiritual teacher to say, but it's healthy that you argue. But these seeking dynamics are different. These seeking dynamics are that you're always trying to find rest. With each other. You're always trying to find home, and you can't find home in another person. But it is important that you do argue with each other, because that's part of being in a human group. And sometimes when we get into spirituality, we think that all anger or arguments must go, all negative feelings must go, and then we try to pretend to be peaceful, and this is just a repression of being human. Humans argue. We get into conflicts, and it's healthy. It changes an energy, or it changes a belief system between you both. It makes things happen. That's a healthy thing, and often people that say they don't argue, I'm sure that's possible, but if they say too much they don't argue, it's most probably that they're not aware of their feelings, and they're not establishing their boundaries properly.
Or they're willing to bury them.
Yeah. And you've got to be. This subject to me is really being fully human. You've got to be willing to be a bad person, or what society considers a bad person. I don't mean like stealing and all those sorts of things. It's unlikely that you're going to do that unless you're super poor or something, or on the starving to death. But I mean, like when I say bad person, is you got to be prepared to be seen as an asshole. You've got to let out your assholeness. Like I don't mean like beating someone up or being really abusive. You have to be careful when you say things on the internet, because people take it to the extreme. I mean, like if you want all the cake, it's always about food with me. I'm a particularly greedy person. If you want all the cake on the table, you've got to express that, rather than pretending that you don't. Even if you don't express it out loud, express it internally, at least yourself. Like the enlightenment is certainly not pretending you're a good or peaceful person. And this is healthy relationships, is being able to confess that you want all the
Yeah.
cake and you don't want to share it. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you don't end up sharing it, because also, like, understanding compromise and living with people, but you can admit that. So you can be prepared to be an asshole to people. You admit when you get angry. Like, that's gaslighting and really like deceptive behavior to not be honest with your partner. Sometimes you're not aware of it, but to be angry and pretend you're not, the other person could pick up on that feeling. So, like, pretending to not be it is, to me, less ethical than being it. If you're angry, you got to be angry. You got to be unenlightened douche. The only reason you want to be peaceful is because you don't want to experience, or people don't want to experience, negative emotions or conflict. Conflict is super important between us. It's just part of life.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying all of this because, yeah, I think the last couple of relationships, I was made to feel bad for bringing things up.
Yeah.
People do, like just, yeah, like like a lot of these women, just like, oh my God, it's one thing after another with you. Like, yeah, because there seems to be a lot of, there seems to be a lot of things we're not talking about.
Yeah.
But,
and that's not the right person for you then, if they're not able to hold that.
and
There is
but
people
that
out
seems
there
to be
can
like,
hold you. Huh?
yeah. And I think that's another thing. Like that seems to be like at this point, it's like 100% of the long-term relationships I've been in, though. Like people who can't, women who cannot hold that,
Yeah.
who don't appreciate vulnerability or just a deep honesty.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is a sort of, I don't know, like a subconscious attraction to the sort of that subtle manipulation you're talking about.
Yeah. And so when you
Yeah.
next get a girlfriend, really put it in your intention. So be consciously aware. So you're looking that you want someone that that you can share everything with.
Right.
Do you go on many spiritual events? Do you meet women that are into spirituality very often?
I feel like, yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, the thing is, it just seems like all of the teachers that I'm attracted to attract women over the age of 55. So,
Yeah. Well, you should come on one
yeah.
of my retreats. I attract young people. It's
Oh,
always
cool.
this is one way thing to, when you go on retreats. Although I don't do retreats in America, though. I do sometimes go to
Yeah.
LA, but
Oh, nice. I'm in LA.
yeah. So the teacher will tend to attract similar age range. So if the teacher is older, they'll attract older people. Say younger, they'll attract younger people, because it's just about relatability. That people feel
Yeah.
that they can relate to people in there that aren't too many generations away from them. It also depends about the mother and father thing. I think that plays a big part. Like dependent on your mother and father, like you've like you'll also see. So another thing that I observe with different teachers and with myself is that different teachers will attract different mentalities. So sometimes I attract rebellious people because or rebellious natures or creative people, because I'm like that. So if you notice, when I do my live stream, I don't do it in a fancy way. Like I don't have a flower next to me, and I don't do it organized, and I just get up to go to the toilet.
They always have a flower next to them. Or a photo of a guru. Yeah.
And I just go to the toilet, I burp, I talk to Khaleesi, like I do everything that just comes. And so therefore people that have a big sense of, or a sense of order, so maybe more ordered people, might not be attracted to me and might find me too chaotic. So I tend to attract more rebellious people and more creative people. I'm not necessarily rebellious, but I'm creative, so I'm a bit chaotic. And so therefore people that are very organized, they might see it as like a spiritual challenge, like, woohoo, we're going to go to Lisa and challenge that dynamic. But it could also be that it repels people that like more order. And so you'll notice also with, with teachers that project a big father figure or mother figure, you'll notice that people that go to them often are looking for the mother figure. It's really funny to watch all the different teachers of what they attract. But yeah, you were saying.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I hear this. I've heard the term a heart-centered approach more and more often. I don't know. Is that something you'd kind of characterize yourself as,
A
or
heart-centered.
more heart-centered?
I'd say that um, the that everything to me is everything is about love. So it's not about this dead consciousness that's empty.
No.
It's about love, and some teachers teach that there is that the source of everything is emptiness, and I don't think that's right. I think that emptiness is form, and form is emptiness, and the form side of things is love, and the emptiness side of things is wisdom. So I see love as super important. It's half of this. It's this emptiness and this love, and one can't come without the other. So you could say that's a heart approach. Like it's really about love. Like that's all that anyone wants. If you're really honest with yourself, what you want is love.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly why I gravitate towards you. And there's a couple of other teachers that I've been shifting towards because I mean, I think my natural inclination has always been towards the wisdom teachings, but I'm finding it's a bit dry now.
And maybe at first
You
that's
know,
what you needed. Maybe and
yeah.
now that's the other side is the love, because sometimes you do need really rigorous pointing. And I think that this life is beautiful the way it works. Like it moves you right in the direction that you need to be in. So I think sometimes in the beginning you do need this rigorous pointing of the emptiness. But then the other half of it is this love. And it's not secondary, the love. Like people often are saying that the emptiness is the first, but that would be separation. Of course, all things must be that emptiness if it's a non-divided reality. And what else was I going to say about the love side? What I was trying to push towards is that the love isn't this big huge falling in love. It's like falling in love, when you fall in love, that this big drama. It's home. Like love is home, this sense of being at home. Like the right now, you're not in an alien environment. Like this is what I think a lot of people feel. You're at home. This is home. You're in yourself right now. Everything. And that's what the love is. It's like this gentle rest. And it's love. It's not this high excited, like they're so wonderful, ba 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 ba, like this mania. I can sometimes have that in the personality structure, but that's not it.
That sounds familiar, actually. It's okay.
You'll be
Maybe
amazed,
maybe
and you'll be amazed it's been happening your whole life.
yeah. Yeah, and maybe I was just looking for that, that fireworks,
Fireworks is like a side effect. Like I often am having the fireworks, but I often get tired and I get sleepy and I get grumpy. Like I'm also on the human side, I have all of those things, but I can have a lot of bliss and a lot of like ecstatic joy, but that also might be a personality thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah, but
It tends to be a side effect for me. Is a lot of joy. And sometimes I still feel a little embarrassed expressing all that in front of others.
but at the end of the day, that's not
It.
Yeah, that's just a side effect or the
That's a
byproduct
feeling
of
that comes and goes. The love
yeah.
is beyond that. The love is this deep rest. That ecstatic joy is a feeling. It's like a feeling that appears in the human.
Oh. So love is beyond a feeling, or is it just a very subtle kind of?
This I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. People argue whether it's a feeling or not.
Yeah. But you just know it's there.
Yeah, and it's See, some people would say it's the first manifest feeling. Some people would say it's not a feeling. It's love. It's this gentle glow and this non-separation from anything, and it's home. I don't know what that is. It's but a joy, a mania, and bliss, all of those come and go. And you do know this, you know it super well, you've had it all your life.
Maybe it's just obscured.
Yeah, it just gets obscured, but you do know it, but you don't have you can't see it, so the person reports back only things it can see. The person reports back that it's happy, that it's excited. Some people teach it like this, if it helps. Some people teach it that you can see it, and it's called the I am. So if you say the I am, and actually you can't see it, and it's like teaching the consciousness thing. You can't see consciousness either, but sometimes it's like a stepping stone. So this I am. Now it feels like at first that you can see maybe that I am, this presence. Do you know what's meant by I am?
You know, that's always, I hear it all the time. I don't think I've ever gotten it, to be perfectly honest. The whole I am thing.
Yeah. What happens when you say it, I am? Not I am a name, so not anything that goes into imagination, but just I am before name.
I mean, nothing special, it seems.
Okay, so so throughout your life, so you've mostly heard lots of people teach the consciousness teaching there, that you were, in every experience, you've always been conscious, and there's never been a beginning or an end to that. Mm-hmm. It's the same with the I am. So if you think back through your life, on your base feeling of being, this sense of being, not this empty looking, but this sense of being alive, it's never changed. You feel that same aliveness as when you were 2 or 3. So my friend described it to my mum. My mum's not into this subject at all, but when she turned 70, she's now 74, but when she turned 70, she said, I can't believe it. I don't feel 70. And she said, it's a shock when I look in the mirror and I see this 70-year-old woman looking back at me. And so he said, how old do you feel? And she said, I don't know, but not 70. And he said, it's funny, isn't it? Because that feeling of you being alive is ageless in a way. It's always the same feeling of being alive. It doesn't have an age of 70 or 2 or 10 or 20. It's this sense of being alive that feels free of any number. And she really agreed. And to me, that was her. I felt like she was getting this sense of it beyond her age or beyond her sense of being somebody or being the body. Does that resonate at all? It still sounds like mumbo jumbo.
No. That actually, okay. And that's the I am.
Yeah, that's the I am.
Yeah.
So it feels like you can see that I am at first, and it also feels like you can see consciousness, but you can't actually. It feels like you're turning and looking at them. They're everywhere. So I used to feel like, I used to do the I am practice because I came from Ramesh and Roger and Nisargadatta Maharaj, but I didn't really know that they were teaching it, but for some reason I picked up on doing that. Like when I went and saw Ramesh, he wasn't actively teaching it, but I somehow started doing it. And I just started chanting I am, and it felt like the I am existed in my heart and it was inside my body. And then when I had the awakening, the big awakening experiences, the big last one, I had many before that, but the big last one is it felt like that I am, or the empty looking, it went 2 ways. It went backwards and it was totally empty. So my looking went backwards, and it was totally empty, like there was nothing inside my head. And then it also felt like I fell out of my eyes, and that was this I am that I felt was inside my body, went everywhere into everything. And it was like love was actually everywhere, and the I am was totally detached from the personality structure. But it felt like at first, because it had always felt like it was contained inside my body, it felt like it was falling out my eyes. So it felt like, so what happened was I was looking at this waitress, I think, or it's getting further and further away, the memory. But I was looking at the waitress, and at first it was, gosh, they're beautiful. And you know when you find something beautiful, you kind of like really are like involved in it. Maybe you get really involved in it. And then it felt like I was looking at them, and then it felt like my looking was not getting closer to them, but this sense was falling into the experience. So the I am isn't contained inside the body either. And this is why I'm very adamant that the empty looking and the I am is the nothing and everything. Like there's no separation, there is no consciousness, there is no separate empty looking or separate I am from everything. They're one movement. At first, when you break it off, it feels like there's consciousness looking at the I am, and then looking at the world, and there is a person. So you feel like the consciousness is the base, then there is this I am, this presence, and then there is a person. And then this shift happens, and that consciousness and the I am stops being held inside the body, and then it's just everywhere, and it no longer actually exists separate from things. And then everything, the reality becomes empty and full simultaneously.
Yeah, that touched me in some strange way. You know, that's not currently my lived experience, but I don't know, it just seems to.
It's resonating beyond words. You know it.
Yeah.
Another time, so when I was having the awakenings prior to that, I happened at Arma's ashram. Have you heard of Arma, the hugging mama?
I actually just met her a little while ago, and
Yeah?
that's kind of what started this heart opening.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. I think she's quite powerful. I don't know so much about all that, but I ended up at her ashram in India, and I was staying like a week or something, or 5 days, but I managed to get a hug every day. I managed to fall into every category of getting a hug. I can't remember the categories. You know, it was maybe like under 30, woman one day, only staying 5 days, like leaving. I managed to get a hug every day. And then on like a second from last day, Roger, my partner, was off queuing up for tickets, train tickets the whole day, which is very common in India. So he was away the whole day. And it started off in the morning with bhajangs or something. And suddenly like the music was playing, and I just fell out of my eyes. And I was so involved in the experience that I didn't know that I was involved in the experience. I didn't know anything. Like I was just so intimate with the experience. I completely forgot myself, and it was so, I was just shocked, but at the same time there's no one that is shocked. And this went on the whole day, and I felt like I was walking around like a lunatic, but I had no sense of that. Like I couldn't think I'm walking around like a lunatic. It was like I was stoned or drunk, just totally fallen out of my eyes into all things. And then I remember Roger came back, and it just stopped. And I tried to say something to him, and his response is best not to talk about experiences. So what could I even say? I was like, nothing just happened. Like you can't even, what could you say? It's happening to us all the time. And when the big experience happened in Bali, I saw that it had been happening my whole life, and I just couldn't see it because it didn't contain a thought. You can't think about it.
Yeah. And that's, I've been so in mind for so long. I think this whole notion of, not being in thought, I'm just kind of coming into that, that notion altogether. I've been trying to figure this out.
The craziness, the magic of this life. Like how random is it that you go and hug an Indian lady who's really from all records that I've heard, like really, really quite crazy, and her ashram is really, really crazy. But you go and hug her and your heart opens. Like I go and stay in her
Yeah.
ashram and I get a hug every day from this lady who I can't even understand what she's saying, and her followers are totally crazy.
Out of
Not
their minds, yeah.
if
Yeah,
you
but it's
like, and then it's like this really crazy, beautiful thing happens. Like life is really magical, and it doesn't make sense. And you don't need to
yeah.
follow logic that anyone teaches you, including a guru. Like the secret to life is the magic, like you felt as a child. You know, that childlike wonder, where you didn't know why the trees grow or the sun shone or why we were on this ball in the middle of space, and we still don't know. We just pretend we know.
Hmm.
Yeah, when I was at the ashram, she had a tooth operation, and the juice from her tooth, the followers were wanting to drink the juice from her tooth because
Oh,
they they think it's like gets them enlightened or something.
what the hell?
It's really, really crazy if you ever go to ashram.
Yeah. I mean, I got a taste of that in LA because yeah, when I hugged her, I just yeah, there was something going on that I just could not explain, that I just never really experienced, and I stayed there till yeah, from like 9 a.m. till like 1 in the morning.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, just it was just an unspoken resonance, and all I knew was to just you just need to sit in this. You just
yeah,
need to take this in as much as you can.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, yeah, there has been an opening, a deeper opening into that sort of mystery, and it does feel like I'm falling out of my mind,
yeah,
and not like in a crazy way, as in like I don't know. There's just a different sort of space that I've been inhabiting little by little,
yeah,
especially when I'm with a teacher. You know, when there is that resonance happening, I can
yeah,
just fall into it a little bit easier. So the listening takes on a different quality. Speaking takes on a different
yeah,
quality. I don't know.
yeah.
Um,
But we are crazy. Humans are crazy, and we're all trying to act sane, and that attempt to act sane kills us. Like we are crazy. Like it is a bizarre experience this, and it's also embracing your craziness. Like embracing that you don't make sense, that you don't have a solid character, that in every moment you're changing and different. That that when you're with one person you're one way, and when you're with another person you're another way, and you change your mind, and you're constantly different. There's no solid you. In every moment it's afresh.
I don't know why that. I don't know. That just kind of woke up my heart a little bit. Like there's just like a little burning after you said that, but try not to figure it out. I'll try not to figure it out.
you can
But
you can do it sometimes, so you can go into the feeling afterwards. I'm sure, I mean, we're pretty simple, so it's mostly abandonment, lack of love.
mm,
So you can go in and see that and feel that, and then you can, when it's ready, you can attempt to move it to the positive, like I want love, I want to be loved, I am loved,
mm,
I will be loved, I will be free.
yeah,
But but you don't need to get too complicated. You can also examine a
yeah,
little bit where it came from. Like you can look to see and remember, about your mom or your dad, or
hmm,
like if it's attached to
yeah,
any experiences.
yeah. And that tends to come up spontaneously, just because yeah, and that abandonment that's really resonating. I think
Yeah,
it is very much being abandoned by mom, dad, by God. Actually,
yeah,
I used to have a wonderful relationship with God, and I'm trying to kind of develop trust in God again,
yeah,
in a way. That's kind of been my way in, but yeah, it's been yeah, I guess yeah, maybe it's just I just need to trust that it can happen. You know, it's gradual. Like maybe I'm getting impatient, like I just want to trust now. I want to
yeah.
trust this unknown force now,
But it's really
but
moving to this moment. So
hmm,
it's like if there is distrust now, that's what you've got to be present to, not the imagination of where you're going to arrive to, that one day you're going to have it permanently. It's really collapsing into whatever's happening, like giving up your investment in the timeline. And the timeline is only helpful for survival, for working out about your additions and where you have to go. I'm watching this really funny TV program at the moment about a comedian in LA called it's just a sitcom. It's called hang on a sec. It's so funny, and she went to in one of the episodes. She went to Fox Studio and got banned because she threw So when so it's totally dropping into the madness of now and letting the mind work out the practical, but that's all it's for, is the practical. It's called Lady Dynamite. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
It's
Yeah,
really crazy. I'm sure it's not a lot of people's cup of tea, but I just like the craziness and the stupidity of it. And she's always in therapy. Like, they never show the therapy sessions, but she's always talking about what the therapist says and like
that's most people in Hollywood.
Yes, so. It's really funny. And then she's got like really narcissistic agent that's like, okay, fuck off out of my office now, out of my space, like, and then like really fake praising. It's very funny.
Yeah, yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, thanks, Vishu. Is that how you say your name?
It's Vishal.
Vishal. Thanks, Vishal.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.